Shocking revelation. Discover the incredible truth about my son's life, hidden until his funeral. Peter Thompson stood in his son's attic, the air stale and thick with the scent of dust motes dancing in beams of muted sunlight. The cardboard box labeled Jake's Dreams felt heavy beneath his grease-stained hands, a stark juxtaposition to the weight of grief that pressed on his chest. Just days ago, he had buried Jake, and now he was confronted with the remnants of a life cut short, lingered remnants of what he never understood about his only son. Every object he touched sent a shockwave of memory through him, a fracture opening wide in his heart. How could he have missed it? As he lifted the flaps, the contents inside hit him like a freight train, a blur of awards and journals speaking louder than words ever could. He felt a pulse rising. Anger? Guilt? The revelation crashed against his heart like a relentless tide. Jake had dreams that twisted and turned in secrecy, a world of brilliance he had never grasped. What sort of father failed to see the quiet genius in his boy? "Dad, do you think I could help save the world?" Jake once asked him, his voice echoing through Peter's memory, a moment swallowed by dismissive chuckles about boys and their fantasies. That was his first moral dilemma. Should he have encouraged the dreams nestled deep within Jake's humble heart, instead of steering him toward the grease and grime of the shop? He felt unsteady, the emotional pressure compounding. Who would he be if he failed to honor Jake in the way he deserved? Peter froze, as he recalled people whispering about Jake's silent rebellion against a system that often dismissed those without polished shoes or silver spoons. As realization set in, a quiet fury ignited within him. This was not just about mourning. This was about recognition, revisiting his understanding of success itself. His heart raced, and words caught in his throat. What did it mean to live a life as a mechanic when his son had aspired to be so much more? Before he could spiral deeper into the chaos of his thoughts, he remembered something crucial. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The tension intensified as Peter began pacing, searching for an anchor in a storm that only felt like it was gaining strength. He couldn't escape the nagging question. Could he publicly confront the community with the truth about Jake? His son's work had been buried like a treasure never unearthed. The thought of standing in front of that sea of familiar faces, torn between pride and shame, brought him to a halt. Just before stepping onto that stage, as he could almost taste the anticipation heavy in the air, he heard a voice call out, resonant and firm. "You don't have to do this alone, Peter." Each word resonated like a bell tolling through the chaos in his heart. It promised secrets, hints of hidden lives woven through Jake's dreams. Did others carry similar burdens? Would his resolve falter as the truth tangled deeper and deeper? The unsettling tug of curiosity surged within him as the moment expanded, leaving him dangling at the precipice of two worlds. The dawning realization that he may not just be unearthing Jake's legacy, but inviting the hidden stories of others to light. Peter stood at the threshold of his decision, the stage looming ahead like an uncharted territory filled with unknown outcomes. His heart pounded as he visualized the faces that filled the seats. Friends, family, fellow mechanics, all unaware of the depth of Jake's life beyond the superficial facade. Would they understand his son's vision? Would they share his resolve to honor it? The weight of expectation settled on his shoulders, mixing with the determination brewing in his gut. This wasn't just about Jake anymore. It was a reckoning for Peter himself. He recalled too many moments of eye-rolling dismissals, the shut-up and fix-it mentality he had ingrained into their interactions. But now, burdened with guilt and knowledge, He felt a surge of courage pushing him forward. He inhaled deeply, steadying his racing thoughts. Perhaps standing tall could unearth the hidden dreams he had buried alongside his son. The journals and awards in that box spoke of a life intertwined with creativity, a vibrant world veiled from his father's cautious perspective. What was it about Jake's reality that had seemed so distant? They had shared the same blood, yet these discoveries made it feel like they were from different realms altogether. "Make me proud, Dad." The words echoed in his mind, spoken not just through Jake's voice, but from the essence of their relationship, an invitation to bridge the gap that had widened over time. The irony struck him hard. How could he honor Jake by merely honoring tradition when it was independence, creativity, and ambition that his son truly cherished? With the decision rising within him like a slow, deliberate tide, Peter stepped closer to the microphone, each footfall heavy yet resolute. What was he afraid of? Confronting the stark reality of missed opportunities, of misunderstandings, of a paternal bond that had grown distorted. Yes, the fear of exposing his vulnerability was nearly paralyzing. But if he remained silent, it would mean the ultimate betrayal, not just to Jake, but to himself. What if, he murmured, barely audible, as the idea crystallized. What if he shared these hidden fragments of Jake's dreams not just as a eulogy, but as an awakening? He could frame the narrative more than the usual tale of loss. This could be a showcase of potential, a reminder to all that dreams don't wither simply because they are not acknowledged. Peter's thoughts began spiraling into a plan, a vision materializing as he imagined addressing the crowd. His hands clenched the podium, and he could almost hear the whispers surrounding him, an audience anticipating vulnerability. The idea felt revolutionary, yet excruciatingly necessary. Hours spent poring over the journals could transform into an exploration of emotions that had long stifled him. In doing so, he could liberate not only Jake's truth but his own. As the house lights dimmed and a spotlight settled upon him, a blend of fear and excitement coursed through his veins. Each heartbeat echoed a countdown, and with every passing second, he could almost taste the freedom that awaited him on the other side of sharing. Would his words be received with grace, or would they provoke backlash from those patriarchal members of their community? Would they dismiss him once again, or find a connection that had loomed just beneath the surface? With determination replacing hesitation, he steadied his breath, allowing the flowing words to invade his mind. The incipient fear didn't vanish, but an undercurrent of hope surged alongside it, a yearning to embrace both his own pain and Jake's legacy. The moment had arrived. All he had to do was unleash the stream of thoughts burbling inside. But before he spoke, a flicker of doubt intruded. Would he truly be capable of revealing all this without stumbling? The intricacies of his own identity also intermingled with Jake's. What if the truth lost its footing in his hands? What would it mean for his own journey? A stark realization pierced through. He wasn't just sharing Jake's story. He was unearthing his own. Shifting between fear and resolve, Peter prepared to embrace the challenge ahead, aware that the path would require him to face his own shadows if he hoped to bring Jake into the light. Peter stood motionless, frozen by the chaotic whirlwind of thoughts swirling in his head. The spotlight felt like a heavy weight on his shoulders, amplifying the pulsing uncertainty within him. An uneasy silence enveloped the room, broken only by the faint sound of shuffling feet and soft whispers. He was acutely aware of every set of eyes upon him, weighted with their own expectations. These moments feel like an intersection of his past mistakes and the potential for redemption. The fear of failing Jake flooded him, and he grappled with the strength required to speak, really speak, about his son. Each second that passed felt like an eternity, as anticipation hung palpably in the air. He exhaled slowly, reclaiming his breath, attempting to drown out the nagging voice that questioned his worthiness to share Jake's story. This was more than just a moment of tribute. It was a reckoning, a chance to acknowledge dreams that mingled with regret and hopes rekindled. He thought of the countless hours Jake had spent poring over sketches, refining ideas, crafting a vision. Those journals had been more than mere pages. They were a reflection of a life filled with possibilities. Reaching for vulnerability, he began by recalling a moment that had resonated deeply. In one of his journal entries, Peter's voice cracked slightly, but he pressed on. Jake wrote about a time when he felt free, when creativity flowed like an open road beneath him. He described it as the feeling of racing on a bike, where fear is eclipsed by the thrill of the ride. That was the essence of who he was, a vibrant spirit unbound by convention. He paused, trying to gauge the audience's reaction. In some faces, he caught glimpses of empathy, while in others, there was skepticism. His pulse quickened, but he felt a new wave of courage buoying him up. The anticipation in the room began to shift as he continued, painting vivid pictures with his words. Jake wasn't just my son. He was an artist questioning the world through a different lens. There were dreams within him I failed to acknowledge, the dreams he had hoped to chase. Instead, I molded him into something he never wanted to be, suffocated his voice under layers of practicality. His throat tightened at the admission, but the truth felt liberating. He could sense a stirring in the crowd, a collective awareness of the complexities of life. Stepping further into the truth of his revelations, Peter acknowledged the necessity of change. I realize now that my attempts to shield him from failure only isolated us. It built barriers where there should have been bridges. The sincerity in his voice began to resonate and break down some defenses. As he recounted Jake's dreams, the ache within him softened slightly, revealing the bittersweet beauty of what had been lost, but could still be celebrated. Every anecdote revealed layers of his son that had once been overlooked, a vibrant canvas painted with ambition and artistic expression. An awakening was dawning, both for him and those he addressed. With every word, he felt lighter. Burdens began to lift, and guilt morphed into a hopeful resolve. If he could illuminate Jake's dreams even in the absence of his son, perhaps he could find a path to his own truth alongside it. And just as he began to perceive the world around him anew, a strong voice pierced through the tension in the silence. "Peter!" It was a familiar tone, but this time electric with confrontation. "How can you pretend to honor your son while avoiding the very truth that challenges everything we thought we knew?" The question hung in the air, drawing gasps from the audience. His heart sank at the unexpected confrontation, confusion mixing with determination within him. Here was the moment that could either shatter his newfound clarity or propel him forward beyond the walls he had spent a lifetime erecting. Peter's mind raced. What was he prepared to reveal now? The stakes had been raised significantly, the risk of further exposing himself glaringly apparent. The challenge before him could redefine his journey entirely, turning this moment into the catalyst of his own transformation. With a deep breath, he steadied himself. This was no longer merely about Jake. It was a moment for Peter to confront his own inadequacies, his own truths buried beneath layers of expectation and denial. Would it be the breakthrough he desperately needed, or would it force him to confront the darkness he had avoided for too long? The answer awaited him, and in that charged moment, the path stretched infinitely before him. Peter's heart hammered in his chest as he locked eyes with the questioner, an unassuming woman who had the audacity to challenge him in this vulnerable moment. He felt trapped in a tumultuous maelstrom of emotions, anger, fear, but mostly a flickering sense of courage battling to rise above the doubt that churned within him. "What truth?" he managed to choke out, his voice barely above a whisper, yet it echoed in the stillness of the room. The silence felt electric, and he noticed how the audience shifted, their breaths held tight in anticipation. He realized the woman was not merely confronting him. She was illuminating the space where deeper truths could emerge. For a moment, Peter wanted to recoil. The risk of revealing what he'd hidden from himself was palpable. What could he say that would honor Jake while simultaneously dismantling the carefully constructed walls he had built around his heart? It was time to confront his own demons, the hesitance that had stifled him for years. I was not just a parent. I was a prison guard. The admission slipped out of him, unbidden, but raw with a new sense of honesty. I thought I knew what was best for Jake. I thought I was protecting him, he continued, looking around the room, clinging to the faces of those who had gathered. But all I did was suffocate his spirit, and unknowingly, I extinguished a fire that could have set him free. The murmurs in the audience transitioned into an almost palpable stillness. Peter let the words hang, feeling the weight of their truth. There was a small sense of satisfaction in releasing the burden, but clarity also poured in, revealing a tumult of thoughts that refused to remain hidden. What kind of father am I if I continue to falter even in his memory? He was no longer speaking just to the audience. He was addressing himself. What legacy am I leaving for his dreams? Am I burying them alongside him? He could feel the tension knotting in the pit of his stomach, but somehow, this tension transformed into an energizing force. Determined to not falter again, he paced slightly, gathering thoughts. Jake had dreams not only of art, but of freedom, he reflected, his mind unearthing fragments of conversations from years ago, the sketches strewn across their living room, each a piece of the vast universe he had failed to explore. He wanted to travel, to see the world, experience life in its entirety. And I took that away. I smothered his fire for control. The audience shifted again, as if compelled by an unspoken connection. People leaning forward to absorb his revelations. Peter felt transformative energy coursing through him, igniting a deeper commitment to honor Jake's essence. I don't want this moment to pass without understanding that my son, he continued emboldened, was not a disappointment. He was an artist, a free spirit. I want to discover that spirit more deeply, not just in his absence, but in the life I still have to live. It's time to chase the dreams I neglected while trying to protect him. The woman who had confronted him stood, nodding slightly, an acknowledgement pairing potential with challenge. Her expression suggested a mix of compassion and a demand for further inquiry. Where might this newfound courage lead him? How will you honor him, Peter? She asked, her eyes fierce and unwavering. He hesitated, the weight of her question burrowing itself into his consciousness, a seed of possibility sprouting amidst the knots of his past. Would he dare to step beyond safety and into the unknown? Would he let himself fly, fueled by the very spirit Jake had embodied? Peter grasped his breath, grappling with the notion of not just reclaiming his son's narrative, but reshaping his own life. What awaited on the other side of this confrontation? But as the silence cushioned his thoughts, a more chilling possibility flickered at the edge of his mind. A thought so profound, it sent tremors of anxiety through him. Was it truly too late to honor Jake? The audience watched him, their empathy growing palpable. But it was Peter's reflection that captured him most. In this moment, something had fundamentally shifted within him. A pivotal choice lay before him, not just to honor Jake's memory, but to venture into territory unexplored by fear. And with that realization, a question loomed larger than life, vibrantly disruptive. What bold, audacious action would he take next to break free from the chains of his past? Peter stood rooted in the electric quiet of the room, his breath uneven, but his resolve sharpening like a blade. The weight of the woman's question nagged at him. How indeed would he honor Jake? The urgency of the moment prompted an internal storm that demanded resolution. He could feel the audience's anticipation meld into his growing determination. Visions of Jake's youthful face flooded his memory, bursting with dreams that never had a chance to flourish. Peter's heart clenched at the realization. Every moment he had spent enforcing his version of safety had been a moment robbing Jake of life. How could he reclaim a legacy silenced too soon? Defining his next steps wouldn't be easy. but the motivation steadied his thoughts. Instead of retreating into remorse, what if he redirected that energy into action? How could he transform grief into a vessel of change? The broader questions simmered beneath the surface. Where had his passions been overshadowed by fear, and what dreams of his own had he sacrificed? "I will start by living," he said, his voice gaining momentum, transforming uncertainty into a manifesto. "I will pursue the freedom Jake yearned for. I will take that road trip he dreamed of. I will fill every canvas in our living room with the colors he loved: deep blues, vibrant greens, and sun-drenched yellows." The words felt revelatory, both liberating and terrifying. The woman nodded again, appreciative of his commitment. "And what else, Peter?" She prodded gently, coaxing deeper truths. He was surprised by the power of her inquiry. In pursuit of the answer, Peter began to unfold layers of himself long neglected. "What about my own artistry?" He mirrored his thoughts aloud. "When was the last time I let myself create? When was the last time I was more than a father, running the daily grind?" With rising clarity, he envisioned returning to painting, losing himself in the strokes of a brush, as Jake had often done. Perhaps through art, he could channel his grief into something beautiful. "I want to organize a gallery in Jake's name," he exclaimed, the prospect igniting his spirit. "I want to showcase not just his work, but all the artists whose voices went unheard because of fear." The audience's reaction solidified his commitment. A ripple of admiration flowed through the room. He could practically feel the transformation coursing through him, lifting the burden of guilt, replacing it with purpose. This was a promise, a covenant with Jake's spirit. Peter could sense the woman's approval shining through as she stepped slightly forward, her presence grounding him. "Do you realize how bold this is?" she asked, her voice low yet fierce. "You're not just reclaiming Jake's legacy, you're stepping into your own power." Yet, as adrenaline surged through him, another voice whispered hesitantly in his mind. Doubt. There would be obstacles ahead. The risk of failure loomed large. He could already envision the criticism of those who couldn't grasp the fiery determination propelling him. "Every time I face that fear of failure, I must ask myself, what would Jake do?" Peter countered to his own internal struggle. He needed to shift his mindset from one of mere survival to one of active pursuit. "I won't just exist," he declared, feeling the charge of transformation in his own voice. "I will live. I will create. I will honor him through the life I breathe." But even as he felt invincible, a subtle dread slithered through him. What if the weight of those promises became too much? Would the inevitable setbacks break him down? Or would they be the very forge in which he was remade? The answers hung tantalizingly out of reach, taunting him with their complexity. Peter's heart raced, yet the anticipation of what lay ahead ignited a fiery resolve within him. It was time to act, but would he summon the courage to face whatever demons awaited on this new path of discovery? The question loomed larger than before. What would be the first step in liberating not just Jake's spirit, but his own as well? The next morning, Peter awoke with the sun streaming through the window, illuminating the dust particles dancing in the air, a sign of a new beginning. The stillness around him, however, threatened to swallow his rising enthusiasm. He felt the weight of his commitments pressing down, each promise echoing like a drumbeat in his mind. Without Jake's laughter bouncing off the walls, the house felt eerily quiet. As he brewed coffee, Peter surveyed the empty kitchen, and the gleaming surfaces felt foreign. He tried to picture the vibrant life that had once thrived here, the spontaneous art sessions, improvised performances, laughter that broke through the mundane. A pang of longing hit him, forcing a question to the forefront. How would he bring that back, for himself first, before celebrating Jake's life? He turned the coffee pot off, his hands trembling a bit as realization washed over him. To honor Jake, he had to first understand his own heart. which had been dulled by years of prioritizing everyone else's needs. That meant confronting his own fears, starting today, rather than postponing the inevitable. The plan began to take shape in his mind like an abstract painting. He grabbed a stained notebook, the one filled with half-formed ideas and doodles from his younger days. He flipped through its pages, a ghost of inspiration. His own artistic aspirations felt like faded remnants of a time long gone, yet found comfort in that familiar, frayed paper, an invitation to reconnect. As he scribbled notes, the excitement bubbled over. A gallery showcasing emerging artists and their struggles, paralleling Jake's forgotten dreams, a mosaic of voices that might resonate with others. But then, self-doubt crept in. Who was he to facilitate such an endeavor? Could he even paint again after years of silence? The internal war raged on, and he set his jaw, muttering, "What would Jake do?" It was a mantra now, propelling him forward, lightening his heart. He left the house filled with determination, the city brimming with renewed potential. Each step he took on the pavement pounded out a rhythm that marked his resolve to create, to evolve. The art store was only a few blocks away, and his heart raced as he imagined the colors calling to him. Stepping inside, the aroma of paint and canvas enveloped him, awakening fond memories. "Can I help you?" the clerk offered, eyeing his hesitant demeanor. "I need everything," Peter blurted, surprising even himself at his audacity. The thrill of action paired with trepidation coursed through him as he gathered brushes, palettes, and canvases, each item feeling like a vessel for the emotions he desperately needed to express. The moment he returned home, he felt a surge of energy. He didn't want to merely replicate what his son had done. He wanted to forge his own artistry, a natural evolution born from his grief. Setting up the canvases in his living room, Peter felt small, yet empowered, as doubt slipped into resolve. As he dipped the brush into the deep blue paint, he began to express what Jake's absence had felt like. An ocean of sorrow, a storm of lost opportunities. Each stroke became cathartic, allowing him to unearth emotions he had buried under years of duty and fear. He could sense Jake's spirit with every movement, guiding him through the chaos of grief into creation. But that night, as he finally set down his brush, exhausted but euphoric, a thought crossed his mind. What other truths did he not know about Jake's life? As much as he felt liberated, a deeper sense of mystery gnawed at him. What if there were facets of his son's existence he had never acknowledged? With that realization, a more poignant question emerged. What else had he overlooked in his quest for safety all these years? The thrill of discovery began to unravel into an unsettling curiosity. Would this artistic journey lead him to understand more than just Jake's lost potential? Maybe, just maybe, it would help Peter face the truths that lingered in the shadows, just waiting to be brought into the light. As he sat in the painted silence, the weight of Jake's potential still hauntingly unknown, he felt an urge to plunge deeper, unraveling layers that might change everything once again. The recess of his mind opened further, whispering possibilities. What hidden talents may he uncover throughout this journey, and would it finally lay the past to rest or expose more haunting revelations? The quest was only just beginning, as Peter summoned the courage to know his son and himself more intimately. The following day, Peter stood in front of the canvas, a vibrant explosion of colors reflecting the chaos in his heart. He held his breath momentarily, staring at the swirling hues, a representation of grief transformed into creation. Yet, it was not just the loss of Jake that drove him. It was the uncovering of his own identity, an identity crushed under years of obligations and unacknowledged desires. He felt compelled to deepen his understanding of Jake's life, not just as a father reflecting on a son lost, but as a man peering into the facets of his own existence that had dimmed. His newfound artistic voice mesmerized him, yet it also frightened him. With every brushstroke, Peter confronted repressed memories, lost within the tides of what he had let slip away. moments with Jake that now flickered like distant fireflies. Each day, he allowed himself to paint uninhibited, pouring raw emotion onto the canvas. Dark lines depicted struggles intertwined with bright strokes of hopeful possibilities. He felt the thrill of discovery seep into his bones as he explored different styles and techniques, balancing between his hesitation and growing confidence. The act of creating transcended the mere expression of loss. It became a force that broke away the chains of fear and insecurity. As days turned into weeks, Peter sought out spaces to showcase his work, motivated to explore galleries where the spirit and voices of emerging artists mingled. Scanning the local list of events, he stumbled upon a small but vibrant gallery that promoted local talents. Heart racing, he scrawled an email expressing his desire to participate. The doubt still lingered, though, gnawing viciously as he considered the quality of his art against the vibrant and polished forms he knew would surround him. What would they think of him? A late bloomer stepping out from the shadows, trying to navigate the art world? The question taunted him, a haunting echo challenging him to confront the fear of inadequacy. But embedded in that fear was a deep resolve. "I won't let fear win this time," he reminded himself, clenching his fist as if to draw strength from the very act of speaking the words. With each passing moment, he meticulously prepared for his first exhibit, forcing himself to confront the harsh whispers of self-judgment. As he worked tirelessly on the final pieces intended for display, he couldn't shake a deeper concern. Was he merely seeking validation through recognition, or digging deeper into his authentic self? An unexpected phone call one morning from an artist he admired rekindled his anxiety. "I heard you've been painting again. How close are you to discovering your truth?" she asked, her voice probing yet encouraging. It was a question he had never considered others would ponder. Truth? The truth of Jake's hidden life, perhaps? What would that mean for his journey? They discussed creative struggles, vulnerabilities wrapped in artistic expression, and while it was enlightening, the lingering question cast a shadow. Peter hung up feeling both uplifted and burdened, the weight of revelation pressing down yet again. Was this journey meant to unravel Jake's truth or his own? That evening, as he stirred a pot of soup, the images he painted blurred in his mind's eye. An urge overcame him, a desire to summon Jake's friends, to touch into their shared memories and stories. The thought terrified him. What if he found out things about his son that shattered the little pieces of understanding he had? What if he wasn't the father he hoped to be? The prospect of confronting the unknown loomed large, intermingling fear with the exhilarating pull of possible revelations. He switched off the stove, heart racing, knowing he must act. With a deep breath, he began drafting a simple invitation to gather those closest to Jake. Peter sensed the shift in the air. As he prepared to confront what lay ahead, he could feel the fine line he walked, between courage and despair, discovery and denial. Every choice brought him closer to an inevitability he could no longer ignore, setting in motion a chain of events that promised both healing and heartache. In the silence of his home, the invitation lay before him like a blank canvas, ready to be painted with the stories of a life unexamined. Would these encounters lead him to understand Jake fully, or would they illuminate unmarked paths within himself, hidden until now? The tension stirred in his chest as he prepared, not just to honor his son, but to face the undeniable truths about his world and his heart. Peter awoke the next morning with a sense of urgency buzzing through him. The invitation he had drafted lay heavy in his thoughts. It wasn't merely a gathering. It was a confrontation with his past, a reckoning with shadows he had kept at bay for too long. He needed to move beyond the safety of his art and embrace the vulnerability of shared experience. Clouds gathered above, mirroring the turmoil inside him. Would Jake's friends see the man Peter had become, or would they only see the father who had failed to see his son's truth? He stifled a shudder at the possibilities. There was no need to dwell on what could go wrong. He had already lived too long in fear. He meticulously reviewed the invitation, ensuring its tone was open and sincere. This was about connection, not judgment. Doubt rippled through him again. What if his invitation reminded them of their loss? What if, in sharing stories, the wounds of grief reopened rather than heal? But the thought of continuing to live in ignorance was more harrowing than the pain of facing those memories head-on. He drew a deep breath, plucking courage from the center of his being, and hit send. The act was liberating, each heartbeat a reminder that he was choosing to embrace, rather than flee. As the hours passed, Peter immersed himself in his art to distract from spiraling thoughts. The canvas transformed into a collage of colors. He felt his heart bleed into the strokes under his brush. There were no more barriers between his fear and expression. Each splatter honed in on a growing truth. His pain was as much a part of him as his love for Jake. Just as the sun began sinking below the horizon, a text notification startled him from his reverie. Jake's friends were responding. One after another, they expressed eagerness to share memories, gratitude for the invitation, and respect for Peter's courage. Each message weighed on him with a sense of responsibility he hadn't anticipated. He was not just inviting them into his home. He was inviting them into his fragile heart. The fluctuation between excitement and trepidation coiled in Peter's gut. What stories would emerge? Internally, he cataloged snippets of conversations he had once had with Jake, the hints and signs that now felt so stark and clear in hindsight. Had he missed the warning bells? The moments of connection that they had failed to recognize? As an artist, he had learned how to see layers beneath the surface of color and form, but the intricacies of life, particularly his son's life, had often eluded him. He realized that delving deeper into Jake's world meant reflecting on his own role, a realization tinged with shame, but brightened by the prospect of understanding. The next few days were a cyclone of preparation and quiet introspection. He rearranged his living space, creating an inviting atmosphere conducive to reflection. Artworks adorned the walls, each piece serving as a silent witness to both his struggle and triumph. The eclectic collection would serve as conversation starters, perhaps revealing truths he had yet to grasp. Peter's mind often wandered to Jake's friends. What stories would they share? Each encounter felt like a bridge being built, but thoughts also brewed turbulence. What if they revealed facets of Jake he had never known? The nagging question returned. Would this exploration illuminate his once opaque image of Jake, or would it cast shadows anew in his heart? As the day approached, Peter found himself staring at the unfinished canvas in his studio, a visual reflection of the unknowns he was about to canvas, to decode the layers of his son's life while simultaneously mapping out his own uncharted territory. The night before the gathering arrived, he labored at his easel late into the evening, desperate to draw clarity and strength from the color and form. With each brushstroke, he surrendered pieces of himself, trusting that revelation would come not just through the stories shared, but from the willingness to embrace the complexity of their intertwined destinies. When the day of the gathering arrived, he could almost feel the crackle of energy in the air, a palpable tension laced with hope and fear. Would this reveal him as the father he always aspired to be, or expose cracks that held more pain than healing? As the doorbell rang, he felt the walls of his heart tense and the room transform, filled with expectation and uncertainty, a prelude to the revelations awaiting him. Would they uncover the secrets of Jake's life, or would he find himself fumbling through uncharted territories of his own? The gravity settled over him like a thick curtain, waiting to be drawn back. Peter opened the door, and the rush of cool air was a stark contrast to the warmth of his insecurities. 5 faces greeted him, each etched with memories that echoed with the laughter and light that had once filled his home. They shuffled inside, their eyes darting around his art-laden walls, absorbing more than just the colors. They were reading between lines, seeking the truth behind the pain. "Thank you for inviting us, Peter," said Sarah, her voice tinged with the melancholy of loss and a warmth that had once soothed Jake's heart. Each hug exchanged felt like a moth drawn towards a flame, intense yet risky. Peter struggled to maintain composure, aware that they weren't here just to reminisce. They carried truths he had left untouched for too long. He motioned for them to sit, silently assessing their expressions, seeking something familiar amidst the shadows. The kettle boiled, and the comforting aroma of brewed coffee filled the air, dulling the tension around them for a moment. Conversations flowed, but were anchored in pauses, each filled with what remained unsaid. As stories began to unfold, Peter felt his resolve strengthening. He saw fragments of Jake reflected in their words, anecdotes of his kindness, laughter, and the struggles that had escaped his grasp as a father. For every memory shared, 1,000 question marks sprung within Peter's mind. Who truly was Jake, the boy he had raised versus the young man who had carried the weight of unspoken burdens? "Do you remember that Halloween?" started Tom, a flicker of mischief igniting his eyes. Jake dressed as a ghost but insisted on hiding. He felt too visible. We spent half the night arguing until he finally came out, and we both won the best costume. Laughter erupted among them, but it hollowed Peter's heart, contrasting sharply with his yearning to reclaim every lost moment. "I didn't know he felt that way," he confessed, his voice trembling with vulnerability. But as he spoke, a part of him saw how the laughter itself had become an absolution, a bridge being crossed rather than a wall being erected. With each story, Peter's anticipation morphed into a visceral response. They spoke of Jake's passions, of friendships and struggles he had been oblivious to. They illuminated sides of him that remained in shadow, facets that stirred guilt within Peter. Perhaps he had been too wrapped up in his own world to notice the signs brimming victoriously in Jake's heart. Hours slipped away, yet within the rhythm of their dialogue, he caught glimpses of a deeper reality. It wasn't merely about Jake. It was about understanding the boy who had loved fiercely, yet felt too burdened to reach out. It hit him then, a realization that clanged like a bell of awakening. This gathering was not about reliving grief, but about shedding light on the critical connections that he had both watched grow and inadvertently stifled. "Jake could be so caring," Sarah continued, her gaze wavering. "But sometimes he carried things alone. I think he wanted to protect you both from his struggles." Peter's heart clenched at those words. Protect? How could he have been so blind? The secret strength Jake had harbored only now began to reveal itself to Peter, and within that revelation was a daunting question simmering in his mind. What stories hadn't been told yet? And would they guide him further into Jake's heart, or shake his foundation as a father? The discussion turned stagnant, heavy with unsaid realizations hanging in the air. Their shared sentiments bounced between him and them like a pendulum, each swing at risk of disrupting the delicate balance of truth and grief. "Is there something you feel we haven't touched on?" he finally asked, the intensity of his own need for clarity unsettling. "Is there something you think Jake wanted me to know?" Silence enveloped the room like a thick fog, thick with expectation and apprehension. What more loomed in the shadows of Jake's life waiting to emerge? Peter's heart raced as he prepared to unearth even more truths that could change everything he thought he understood about his son. Would his willingness to pry open the door to grief lead him to discover hidden strengths within himself? Or would it expose fragile seams that threatened to unravel? The tension mounted as he sensed the answers were poised, ready to unravel in ways he never anticipated. What would they reveal? And would he have the courage to face the truth awaiting him? The silence stretched painfully as Jake's friends exchanged glances, weighing how to navigate the delicate terrain of Peter's question. He could see the emotions flitting across their faces: hesitation, understanding, grief. Each moment stretched, and he felt a tremor of hope mingling with fear ripple through him. "I think Jake wanted you to know he felt like he was in two worlds," Sarah finally said, her voice low but steady. "He loved you, and he wanted to make you proud. But he also felt stifled, like he had to fit into a mold that wasn't him." The words hit Peter like a freight train. His chest constricted as he absorbed the truth buried there. A truth that echoed with every ounce of love he felt for his son. "I failed him," he admitted, his voice shaky yet resolute. Clarity washed over him, opening a floodgate of realization. He hadn't just missed Jake's dreams. He had ignored the signs of a boy yearning for freedom, creativity, and the right to be his authentic self. "No, you didn't," Tom interjected, his tone soft yet firm. "You loved him, but you didn't see his pain. That's what we all carry. But it's not too late to learn." Peter felt the weight of that statement settle in his bones. He was on the precipice of understanding, and each heartfelt revelation from Jake's friends chipped away at the walls he had built around his heart. They shared stories illuminating the vibrant spirit Jake had locked away, art, music, and dreams of adventure that he had kept private. "I remember the last time we hung out," Sarah continued, her eyes glistening. "He wanted to take a spontaneous road trip, to just go somewhere and create. He was feeling alive with possibility, but it never happened. Regret stung him, sharp and unyielding. I could have encouraged him," Peter whispered, pain etched in his voice. "Instead, I pushed him toward something I thought was safer." "But look where you are now," she replied with conviction. "You're honoring him by seeking the truth. This gathering, the art, you're breaking cycles. It's never too late to change how you see the world, and in doing so, you honor him." He inhaled deeply, a burgeoning sense of empowerment swelling within him. The realization dawned that this moment was not just a reckoning, but a catalyst, activating profound transformations. If he could embrace these truths, it was time to reclaim not only Jake's dreams, but also his own. Encouraged by the support of Jake's friends, Peter felt emboldened to share what he had been hiding from himself. "I let my fears dictate Jake's future, but I am fighting for his legacy now. I'm finally understanding the depth of my own neglect, not just in nurturing his dreams, but in stifling my own." The group nodded in understanding, encouraging him to embrace the journey ahead. "What will you do next?" Jake's friend Tom asked quietly, his gaze penetrating. "I think I'll take that road trip he dreamed about, with his art in mind. I want to find the roads he would have taken, experience life the way he wanted to. I want to dive into creativity without reservation." The words flowed from Peter as if they had always been waiting for this moment to be set free. "Let's do it," Sarah chimed in, a smile breaking through her shadows. "Let's honor Jake by capturing his essence. We can even document the journey, all the stories and memories shared, those moments he cherished." The idea coalesced in the air between them, vibrating with the energy of newfound purpose. Peter could see Jake in their enthusiasm, the laughter erupting. This was exactly the spirit he had yearned to honor. The gathering transformed from a mere reminiscence into a celebration of life, connection, and promise, fulfilled. Here, surrounded by the vibrant stories of Jake's life and the lessons of growth, Peter found himself extending an olive branch to his own heart. As the evening unfolded, truths were exchanged, memories flowed freely, and Peter felt layers of guilt and loss unraveling bit by compelling bit. Conversations danced through moments of laughter and sorrow, creating an intimate tapestry of love woven not just through Jake's narrative but through their experiences as well. By the end of the night, he felt more whole than he had in years. With every shared story, he embraced the essence of Jake, and in return, began to redefine his own identity as a father, an artist, and a man seeking to follow the reckless pursuit of creativity. As the last guests departed, the weight on Peter's shoulders transformed. He stepped outside, the cool breeze brushing against his freshly awakened spirit. He looked up at the stars, twinkling bright against the vast night sky, and whispered softly into the darkness, "Thank you, Jake. I see you now." In that moment, Peter knew he was ready to embark on a new journey, a journey illuminated by his son's legacy, grounded in love, and propelled by the transformative power of truth. And with that, he felt a solid confidence take root in him. At last, he stepped forth to honor the life of his son, and in the process, embraced the liberation of his own. Now, it was time to take action, He would reclaim his creativity, articulate the dreams once overshadowed, and carry forward the stories of those whom he had once silenced. Change was not only on the horizon, it was here, and with it, the realization that he had the power to let go of the past while forging a future filled with exuberance. Peter stood tall, intent on sharing his journey with the world. He was finally ready to connect with the truth of himself and the legacy of his son, setting the stage for a vibrant chapter ahead. Don't wait. Even one more second. You need to subscribe now to the channel to witness this transformative journey and upcoming exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, because it makes a difference in connecting with those who need to hear this message. Comment your thoughts and reactions about Peter's journey, and share your theories on what's next. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support and be part of a community that embraces growth and healing.